Hi, I'm Dawn Marisa Lace, and I am with INIS 2022 Neurodiversity Conference, and I'm really excited because I'm here with Nicole Barron. She is representing Rise NY, which is, and I'm going to read this because I want to get it right, it is a nonprofit in the Binghamton, New York area. They are a provider of comprehensive domestic violence services, near and dear to my heart. This is an organization that does an amazing amount of good in this area and scoops up people that need help. So I'm really excited, Nicole, that you are with us. I'm just going to say a little bit about this in terms of the neurodivergent population. We have a tendency to be extra at risk for a lot of different reasons, and I won't go into a big list of that right now, but I am going to speak from my own experience. Being an autistic person and being somebody who can take rules very seriously, can feel very obligated to follow rules, especially as a young person, somebody who is trying to be a very good person, obey authority, be a good wife, do all of those things, trying to be my best self, put me in harm's way. And whether it was society or other people who are really trying to love me, giving me advice that the way I was processing it as an autistic person, especially because I didn't know at the time I was autistic, I wasn't taking that advice the way I should have been. And it wasn't good advice for me at the time. So I was in harm's way, and I needed to get out. And organizations like Rise NY are there to help people like I was, people in need, people who need to leave situations when it's really, really hard to leave, to keep them safe and to get them back on their feet. And so, Nicole, from the bottom of my heart, I am thrilled that you are here, and I'm so grateful for what you and your organization do for women in this area. Could you let me know more about what Rise NY does in the Binghamton, New York area, and what led you to become part of this organization and do the work that you do?
Yeah, thank you, Dawn Marie. Thank you so much for inviting us to participate. Just because, as you described, people of all sorts of disabilities are more at risk of domestic violence. So we definitely want to make sure that we're doing outreach and letting people know that these services exist. So RISE is Broome County's licensed domestic violence provider. So we provide comprehensive services. So that includes our shelter. Our shelter has been operational since 1979. It was actually one of the very first domestic violence shelters to open in New York State. And as of today, we have a capacity of up to 20 beds. We see around 175 to like 250 individuals come through our shelter every year, and that is adults and children. Lots of times people think it's just a women's shelter, and that's not true. We accept all adults, and you know, it's a great atmosphere. We do try to make it as home-like as possible. Obviously, it is not home, but we try to make it comfortable for people and welcoming. Our services are very inclusive. We accept all victims, you know, regardless of ethnicity or disability or religion, or, you know, we very inclusive services. And in addition to our shelter, we also offer non-residential services to people who may not like need or want our shelter. And the non-residential services are our advocacy program and our counseling program, and we offer community education, just like I'm doing right now.
That's fantastic. If someone were to reach out to you and felt like they needed some assistance, let's start with a situation where they're not sure their relationship rises to the level of abuse, right? They're having a hard time at home. They don't feel like they want to leave. They don't want to get anybody in trouble. They're afraid to reach out. what would you tell them? How would they get in touch with you, and what is their level of safety in reaching out? Like, are you going to call the police right away? Are they going to get in trouble? What's going on if they reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of times people have difficulty realizing they're experiencing domestic violence sometimes, because it's not always physical. A lot of times when people learn about it, they always think it's physical and it's perpetrated by an intimate partner. And it doesn't always have to be like that. It can be perpetrated by anyone who's seeking to power and control a victim. It could be like um, an ex-partner, it could be like a cohabitant, it could be a family member. And then it's not always physical. Like emotional abuse can also be very, very damaging. It could be financial abuse, sexual abuse. So there are different types of abuse as well. Some of the red flags, particularly someone who does have a disability, should be aware that basically domestic violence is about power and control. That's what the perpetrator is trying to get, power and control over the victim's life. So it could be someone who's very jealous, that doesn't want the victim to work, doesn't want the victim to go out, like wants to know who they're texting, who they're talking to, what they're doing every minute of every day. That's not love, that's extreme jealousy. It's someone who doesn't respect boundaries, that could have rage issues. And sometimes it's hard because they could present this way to the victim, and then, they go out in the community and they're incredibly charismatic and present themselves very differently. So that's something we want people to know as well, that, just because he's not like this in your interactions with him, you don't know him or her like them. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. The other thing is, like, it could be a person that withholds or denies medication. Disability could be used to emotionally abuse the victim. So, which is horrible. Like they could twist it around, that, like, for example, it's not that someone's brain is wired differently, it's that, they're using insults instead. It could be like gaslighting, or including dismissing the disability as fake or imagined. It could be someone that like isolates the victims from family members or friends. And then like economic abuse, like the theft of wages or disability checks. So it can look very different depending on the victim, depending on the perpetrator. The ways we'd like for someone to reach out for help is to contact our 24-hour hotline. And that's, all hours. If you need assistance, we'll have a staff member that's ready to pick up the phone and talk you through it. It's all depending on the victim's comfort level and needs. If you don't want police involvement, there does not need to be police involvement. It's very victim-led, it's trauma-informed services, it's whatever that victim wants and needs. We try to empower them to make decisions. We don't make decisions for them because they've had so much of that in their lives already. So basically someone can reach out to our 24-hour hotline. We also do have a chat service that's available during business hours, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. And that's actually on our website. If you go to rise-ny.org, there's a little box that says chat here, and you can actually have a chat conversation with an advocate. So those are some ways that people can reach out for help. And we also do have something on our website that might be helpful for people. It's like under our shelter page. It's a whole article about what people can expect when they call our hotline, which, it's so much like the fear of the unknown with reaching out for services. And we provide like confidential, non-judgmental services. So people don't need to be afraid reaching out for us, reaching out for help with us.
That's great. If someone is in need of immediate shelter, is there someone available to go pick them up?
Yes, we can provide transportation. It does need to be from a safe location. Like we cannot pick them up from their home if the abuser is with them. But as long as they can get to a safe location within the county, we can pick them up.
Okay. If they have dependent children, are you able to pick up the children as well?
Yes. Yep. Children are welcome in our shelter as well. We do have a very child-friendly space. We actually have a children's reading room, which is like great. It has like murals of sea creatures on the walls, and we have like very inclusive books for children to look at. We have a really nice playground in our backyard. We have like children's toys kind of throughout the shelter. We do get just as many children in the shelter as we do adults. So it's very important for us that children are welcome there as well.
If a parent with their children needs to come and shelter, but also needs to maintain employment, is there help to get childcare for the children while the parent maintains their employment?
Yes, we wouldn't be able to provide that at our shelter, but we'd be able to refer them to other resources in the community. And one of like the important parts of our job is like we kind of just worked with domestic violence, and usually there's so many other needs that a victim might have. So we do have like our tendrils out in the community, and we know like where to refer people to get help. And that's like one of the big things that we do.
That's great. That's really good to hear because, one of the things that I think stands in the way of people reaching out for help is it's not just, okay, I get out of the house, but now what do I do? I have doctor's appointments. I have dentist appointments. I have to get to work. I have to make money. I have to, right? The giant list. And then people's brains just shut down and it's too hard. It's too much. And so to hear that you've already thought of these things and that you have some community connections and you have some ideas of how to help people navigate all of the things they have to manage, that's really reassuring. Knowing that, I think, would make it's never easy to make that phone call and to make the decision to take your step into safety and freedom. But if you knew somebody was going to be there to help you through and help you get those things done, it would be a little bit easier to do it.
Yeah, we provide a lot of services in our shelter. The other thing people are often concerned about is pets. So we cannot provide accommodation for pets at our shelter, but we do have contacts with local animal shelters to temporarily shelter the animals there while the family is in shelter. And that actually works out to be like a really good arrangement for a lot of families because they can still visit the pet whenever they want. They get free medical care and free food for the pet. And then, once they find an apartment and discharge, then they can take the animal with them.
That's really good to know. I've worked over the years with a number of different organizations that will help to find new homes and things like that. And care for animals is often forgotten. And that can be devastating for a family to be able to have to leave their pets behind. So the fact that you all have taken that into account and you have made that accommodation, that's amazing. That's really wonderful. So I'm thrilled to hear that. One of the things that that has come up for me in past work that I've done, I've worked with some folks who were really in harm's way. Where people would try to track them down. And I've worked with shelters where their address was not known. People were not allowed to know where that location was. We had to do a lot to keep people safe. Children were removed from school. And so what are the protocols for your organization? How do you keep people and children safe while they're working with your organization?
Mhm. Confidentiality is something we value really highly at this organization. The location of our shelter is confidential, so that we don't tell anyone where it is. And we also make ask victims when they come into shelter to sign confidentiality agreements that they're not going to disclose the location. So it is a very safe and secure dwelling. We do have like cameras, and you can't come into the building unless basically a staff member lets you in. And that is actually the same as our other building where we provide non-residential services as well. So even if you're not in our shelter, but you're receiving the counseling or advocacy services, we also have security measures at that building too.
That's great. For individuals that feel the person who is perpetrating the abuse sincerely wishes to be better, do you all help them find therapeutic care to try to make better choices?
We only work with victims, but we can refer out to like offender accountability programs.
Okay, great. What do you think would be maybe one of the largest impediments to people contacting you? Obviously, there is the fear of making change. But what do you think comes next after that?
I think it very much is the fear of the unknown. Like when you're experiencing abuse, you at least can kind of predict what's happening. Whereas like if you're going to upend your life and end up in a shelter, like that's, that is a huge step to take. And we do try to show pictures of our shelter. We have like different photo books throughout the community. We have pictures on our website, just to try to give people a feel of what our shelter is like. Because a lot of times when people hear the word shelter, they're imagining like a warehouse house type setting with bunk beds, which is not what our shelter is at all. It's a home basically, and there's private bedrooms and bathrooms. So I think that fear of the unknown can be very scary. And yeah, as you mentioned, people are taking their lives with them too. They have to make accommodations for their children and the children's school and their work schedule and try to figure out all those details. But our staff can help with all those details as well. And then I think like reaching out to our other services, if you're staying where you are, or, you don't need the shelter services, I think it can just be scary. Maybe they think they're going to be judged, or someone won't believe them. Maybe they've experienced in the past that like someone doesn't believe them, and that can hit them very hard. But I mean, we believe survivors at Rise. I think that's very important, to validate their feelings and talk through the abuse and try to help any way we can, because there's so much like victim blaming in our society, and we do not partake in that at all. We believe survivors. We stand with survivors.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I think even today in 2022, we still have the perspective that, well, what did you do to tick them off? What did you do? And there's no good reason to be hit. There's no good reason to be shamed There's no good reason to be blamed. There's no good reason to be gaslit. There's no good reason for any of this stuff. Nobody gets to take your paycheck. Nobody, nobody gets to take your things. Nobody gets to shut you outside and lock the door. Nobody gets to take your shoes. Nobody, right? Nobody gets to take your clothing. These things are not okay. And nothing you did makes it okay to have those things done to you. And it's really important to understand that, but it's incredibly hard to understand that if when you tell somebody these things are being done, they say, well, that sounds ridiculous. Who would do that to you? Or, well, what were you doing? Like, well, were you ticking him off again? Were you like, well, you know who you are, how you are. And for somebody like me, who's autistic, and I've been told I'm dramatic, I'm too much, I'm, inappropriate. I've been told my whole life I'm a whole lot of negative things. It can be very easy to believe that I'm the problem. And that means that somebody who is skilled at making people believe they're a good person can make others believe I'm the problem. Right? And so you stay and you stay and you stay and you stay and you stay. And it can take way too long for somebody to realize, no, actually, maybe even, okay, let's just say, for argument's sake, I am dramatic and inappropriate. Let's just say that. That's the title of my book, actually, My Dramatic and Inappropriate Near Awesome Life. I own it. Great. I'm dramatic and inappropriate. And I do not deserve to be gaslit. I do not deserve to be hit. I do not deserve to be shamed, right? I can be me, and I deserve to be treated well. I deserve love. I deserve kindness. I deserve respect, right? And so for the neurodivergent population, because we are told from such an early age that our behavior isn't right, that we're doing things wrong, we need to sit down and be quiet, or we need to, stand up and act a different way. We're always being told we're doing something wrong. It's so easy to be in an abusive relationship and not quite understand that we're not the problem. And so having organizations like yours stand up and say, hey, I don't care what the rest of the world thinks. We will believe you. We know you have value. We know you don't deserve that. Come here and we'll explain it to you. We will tell you just how much value you have. We will tell you, right? That makes a big difference. And so what would my first night look like if I call you up and I say, hey, I think I need to leave. Please come get me. I'll meet you at McDonald's. Come get me. What will my first night look like?
Yeah, so if someone is coming into our shelter, we would basically meet them at a safe location, and then bring them in our vehicle back to the shelter. Once at the shelter, we'd help them with their bags, we'd show them to their room, and if they're coming in with a family, they would get their own private bedroom and bathroom. Give them some time to settle in. A lot of times, like, people will come in with nothing, so we have everything to meet their basic needs. So, if you only are coming in with a garbage bag full of belongings, like, we have everything else that you missed. We can help with them with clothes or toiletries. A lot of times, people just need a pair of pajamas for the night, which we're more than happy to help with. Yeah, so we'll make sure, like, all of those basic needs are met. We provide food as well, like all the meals, so people don't have to worry about that. It would just be like, introductions by staff. We do have, like, kind of staff that turns over, so we'd make sure that you're introduced to the staff. And usually, the first night we're not expecting much of people. We do have some paperwork that needs to be completed, but if someone is not at a point where they can complete that paperwork, we can do it another time. So it's very, it's kind of wherever that person's at, we're going to meet them where they're at.
That's wonderful. But the idea that you could come someplace and be safe and maybe sleep, and know your kids are safe and they can sleep. That might not even seem like a real world to some people. That might just feel like that's just too different. It doesn't even seem real. But there's Rise NY, there are organizations that, this video is going to be seen by people all over the world. There are organizations like Rise NY all over the world. It's important that if you are in harm's way, you find a way to reach out. Nicole, some people can't use their cell phone to call you. They're with somebody who will check their cell phone. They will check the history on their browsers. They will check. So do you make known out in the community, hey, if somebody says to you, I need you to call Rise NY for me, who would they go to? Who would they say, can you call Rise NY for me?
Yeah, so one of the things is if they can get out of their house, we do have an administrative building that they can just show up at and we can help them. The other thing is that we have advocates at like various entry points in the community that can assist them and connect them with services as well. So we actually have 2 advocates at Child Protective Services that will occasionally go out with caseworkers and go on home visits for families that have child abuse or neglect concerns along with domestic violence, and they can help advocate with a caseworker, case conference with a caseworker, and connect them with services that way. We also have advocates at 2 of the local police departments. So, if there's a domestic incident report at your house, a RISE advocate will either be at the scene or will follow up with you afterward to connect you with services that way. If you come into family court and you want to get a family offense petition, we actually have an advocate there that can connect you with services. So we do have different entry points in the community as well.
Okay, that's great. Just another suggestion for people who are watching this, if you can't use your cell phone or your own computer and you can leave your home, go to the library. The librarian will let you use the phone, and you can generally get free access to the internet there. You can also walk into your local CVS or Walgreens or local drugstore, whatever you've got near you, and talk to them. Any doctor's office, any place that provides care of any kind, dentist office, eye doctor, any place that provides care of any kind, and take an employee aside and say, hey, I need to be in touch with Rise NY, or if you're watching this from a different state, say, hey, I need some domestic violence services. Can you please get me in touch with my local organization? And hopefully they will help. But especially if it's any kind of care facility, they should be able to hook you up right away. But don't let anything stand in your way. Walk into someplace and someone will help you. Nicole, we can think about our first night. We might even be able to think about night number 2 and night number 3, but at some point we're going to have to re-enter the world. That's probably, if not the scariest, the second scariest thing that people think about. Like, okay, fine, I go to the shelter, but at some point I'm going to have to do step number 2. What does Rise NY do to help people prepare themselves to re-enter the world as a person again, because the people we were with before tried to make us not people, right? They isolated us, they tore us down, they made us feel like we weren't okay. We need to build ourselves back up so we feel like people again, and then we can go out and function. How does Rise NY help with that?
So stays at our shelter are up to 90 days. So basically when someone enters, we're already kind of planning for their eventual discharge. So we are trying to give them tools and set them up for success. So one of the things we offer, like the non-residential services I had mentioned before, those are also available to people in our shelter. So that would be like group counseling, group therapeutic counseling, and there's also individual therapeutic counseling to kind of give people those tools that they need to heal from the trauma they've experienced, to learn about self-care, to basically learn how their brain works and, how they can get past this. We also have advocacy services. So if someone needs help like safety planning or an order of protection or such, like they can connect with an advocate. And then our shelter staff are working with victims to help them locate housing, which in our community is very, very difficult, because there just aren't enough, affordable housing for families. So that is definitely takes some time and is terrifying for anyone. So our shelter staff can assist with that. We do have some resources as well. We can connect them with like other organizations for financial assistance sometimes. And basically, we want to place people in safe, affordable housing because that's how they're going to be set up for success. So we're trying all along to do all that and put the resources in place that once they discharge, they have a support system and they have organizations they can rely on for services.
That's wonderful. How is Rise NY funded?
We are funded a lot of different ways. We do receive some federal funds, a large amount of state funds. We get some local grants and then private individuals as well.
That's great. And if somebody sees this video and they feel so inspired, how might they donate to you?
They can just mail us a check or they can go to our website and donate through PayPal.
Okay, great. So I'll make sure that you are linked in the information on this video so that people can donate, and I hope that they do. Do you receive any physical donations? Do you need food? Do you need clothes? Do you need blankets? Anything like that? Or is money really the thing that is most useful?
We do also have an Amazon wish list. So if people go on our website under our donations tab, they can pull up our Amazon wish list, and that has like items that we might need. We don't really take a lot of physical donations just because after COVID we were kind of overrun and we don't have like the staff or the storage space to actually deal with that. But yeah, monetary donations, something off our Amazon wish list, those are always appreciated.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, we'll make sure all of that is linked. Is there any sort of final thing you'd like to say to wrap up?
I think we covered some of the things, like I really like that you said like abuse is never the victim's fault, because so often they have been told that, and it's not true. You're not responsible for someone else's actions. And a lot of times, like, people are like, why do they stay in relationships like that? And it can be hard for so many reasons, like to leave a relationship. There's safety, sometimes there's children involved. It's like a relationship like any other, which can be very hard. I guess the other thing I wanted to say, if anyone is listening to this and they know someone who's experiencing abuse, just to like offer support and listen without judgment, believe the victim, offer resources is so important. So Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the opportunity to speak about our services.